And welcome to the Everyday Board Game Podcast with your host, Daniel.
And Daniel.
And we are here live at YumaCon.
Yeah, no, this is awesome.
Those of you guys who are watching the podcast or watching the video version of it, you'll notice our background is definitely not quite the same.
It's different, quite different. There's no calendar behind us, that's all.
Quite different, yeah. So because of this, we are at YumaCon in Yuma, Arizona. They invited us to do a live podcast, so we are live here in front of a bunch of currently empty chairs, but we're hoping that'll change.
We're the first one in the morning, so.
That's right. So we'll be filming this. We can't stream it live, but we will be putting this up very shortly. Probably uploading it. I don't know when you're going to upload
Probably
it.
like next week.
But this will be our weekly episode.
This will be the top 8 debate that we have been holding off on doing for a while.
That's right. So this is going to be a top 8 debate. We're going to rocket through this. This is going to be a top 8 debate games, farming games.
Yeah, so the reason why we chose this one is because we were trying to figure out what are we going to do for Yuma, the desert and stuff like that. Come on in. And so we were trying to figure out what's good historical about this, and our mutual friend Jim found out that Yuma is known for like 90% of the world's leafy greens.
Yeah, so we decided to go with farming as our category today, so we're going to be doing a top 8 debate for that. Normally we break down a couple different things. We're going to kind of speed run it today because we have about a 45-minute episode.
Yep.
Might be even better for our podcast listeners, but this
so it won't be long.
So as a quick recap, our top 8 debate is very simple. We do a college-style football bracket, top 8 debate. We have 5 different criteria. We have meaningful choice.
We have replay value,
art and production,
ease of play,
and whatever GI is.
Game immersion.
Game immersion, that's right. Clearly I know what I'm
It's
talking
been a
about.
while, so.
It's been a while. But we're going to be doing that, and we're also slimming it down. Honorable mention, what would you say is your favorite farming game that's not included in our list?
The one I picked was one I recently played. It's a roll and write farming game called Three Sisters. It is a massively large roll and write compared to some of the normal stuff that we play. So what it does is you're building your farm based on what you're growing. You choose which farm you're going to grow to. You got 1 through 6, and so you build your numbers out. You have to build up your corn. I believe the other one is rice. But you also build up the pumpkin patches. And then when you're done with that side, you have to go to either the farmer's market or grow your apiary or your orchard. So it just does so much when it comes into the whole overall farming thing. So it's really neat.
All right. And I picked Rakeholt, which is a Uwe Rosenberg game. It's a worker placement. You have a whole grid, similar to Feast of Odin, which we're going to be debating later.
Yeah.
But I like it because, specifically in Rakeholt, you are getting geothermal areas to grow plants. You actually have to build buildings in order to grow those. I think it's set in either Scandinavia or Iceland. I'm not sure. Yeah, probably Iceland. But they're growing everything from like tomatoes and potatoes and all that stuff, mainly root vegetables. But they actually have to geothermalize it, and it's a cool setting. It's more or less the same thing as all of this other games.
Pretty much. You have to feed your people.
Yeah, you have to feed your people. No, you don't actually feed your people. You're inviting them to a banquet.
You're still feeding them.
Okay, yeah, technically you're not wrong. But yes. Anyway, yeah, no, I like it a lot. And it does a really cool thing with scoring, how it works. You either can score points or not score points and get the vegetables instead. Mm-hmm. It's really interesting. It's awesome. We like it a lot. So, Rakeholt is my honorable mention.
All right, before we get going into the top 8 debate, if you notice this thing in front of me right now, this is for a board game called Matches. They are live on Kickstarter. This is brought to you by Thing 12 Games. Why is this special? Why are we advertising it?
Well, they're not a sponsor of the podcast, but I designed it. So I'm blatantly self-promoting for my own personal game. No, we're looking to get funded. We're almost halfway there. Please, if you get a chance, search Matches on Kickstarter. Go check it out. We have the whole thing on how to play it and everything on there.
Also, you can follow Thing 12 Games on Twitter, as well as us on Twitter at EDG Podcast. And we'll have a link down in our system for this.
All right. So, with that being said, we want to get straight into it. Let's start with our very first quarterfinal.
How about we tell the brackets first?
Yeah, let's actually say what game we're talking about, right? Our number 1, Feast for Odin.
Versus our number 8, Cacao.
Our number 2, Viticulture.
Versus our number 7, Bonanza.
Our number 3, Puerto Rico.
Versus our number 6, Takanoko.
And our number 4, Caverna.
versus our number 5, Above and Below. Hey, you know what? Uwe Rosenberg really likes his farming.
He sure does. I think he was hungry when he made every one of his games. Pretty sure. All right, let's start with our first one. Feast for Odin versus Cacao. As always, we don't have a cup of doom with us normally. But
No, I got to use my hat.
In your hat of doom, I'll flip our coin. Daniel, you'll be debating first.
All right, let's see. What am I going to get? I get Feast for Odin.
All right.
So I think Feast for Odin should move on because there is some farming in there when it comes to like the ranching style, not really the leafy greens. You can multiply your cows and your sheep. And you still have to feed your people with vegetables. But you can also get a lot of your vegetables by raiding as a Viking, so
Yeah.
it's like, eh.
I mean, with that game, he threw everything with the kitchen sink.
Yeah,
it
there's
has everything. There's
polynomials.
puzzle playing, dice rolling. You have combat in it. Like, it's weird.
Yeah.
My argument for Cacao, why I think Cacao should move on,
Okay.
is because Cacao, it technically has farming, but you're sending your workers. It's a checkerboard pattern. You put a worker tile out, which will have 4 workers facing in different directions. It might be 1 in each, or it might be 3 in 1. It might be 2 in 2. But you place those out, and the action tile that you set it next to, which is really fun, determines how many times you take that action. So it's kind of like a multiplier. It's a really ingenious idea, and knowing when to sell Cacao, you want to buy it right away. You can roll 5, sell it right away for the highest margins.
Yeah.
But getting your worker tiles out there, I mean, I think it's a great game. It's brilliant. As much as I like Feast for Odin, I don't know. That's hard for me to justify it moving on. But really, when it boils down to it, both of them really do have...
They don't do farming that well.
Yeah, they have farming as in you take some tokens that are food themed, right?
Yeah.
So that's a tough choice. Between the two, there's more meaningful choice in Feast for Odin.
A lot more meaningful choice.
There is technically more game immersion because there is slightly more farming and ranching. But yeah, that's about it. I don't know. Maybe
it's art and production.
Art and production. Ooh. I mean, they're both fine.
Yeah, they're great.
The art,
I could see Feast for Odin a little bit better.
For the art, sure.
Yeah. So right there's 3-1.
All right, Feast for Odin moves on.
All right.
Our next bracket will be Viticulture, our number 2 seed versus number 7 seed Bonanza, which is one of my personal favorites. Viewers of the podcast know that. I absolutely adore Bonanza.
Oh.
Please, I hope I get to argue it. All right, you'll be arguing first.
All right, let's see what I get. Why am I arguing all the time now? Viticulture.
All right. And I know that's like probably your favorite game on this list, right?
Oh yeah, hands down. I think it was in my, top 5 of my top 100.
It was
up
number 1
there,
for a while. Wasn't it?
It was 1 for a while until I played Gloomhaven.
Although Bonanza is almost my number 2, and I play more games, so I'm better.
No, but I've seen your games you played. They're quite ugly too. Whereas Viticulture, not that ugly.
Okay.
But for my choice with this one, I would say Viticulture goes more because you're farming beans, but for Bonanza, it's really more of an economic game because you're trying to sell your beans at the proper time. Viticulture, you're actually farming your grapes, you're building your grapes, you're making your wine, you're selling your wine. So you're doing the whole process all the way through, building up your winery, your farm. Whereas Bonanza, you're just weird people beans and you're trying to sell those.
Well, I mean, yeah. The thing is, Bonanza's a fun game. It's more fun. It's more immersive because in the bean market, clearly there is that really
Anamorphic.
Anamorphic, chili beans, coffee beans, which are technically not beans.
Don't get me wrong, Bonanza is more fun than it should actually be.
Right, it's an amazing game. I don't disagree. I mean, with the whole spectrum of what we're arguing right now, with actual farming games, Viticulture really does encompass actual farming. That is the whole premise of the game.
You have to grow your...
I won't disagree with that. So I will agree to let it move on for the sake of argument, because normally I would...
Yeah, because we're trying to run through this quickly.
The art of Bonanza, it's fun.
It's fun.
It's fun. Anyway, that's all I'll say about it. So, Viticulture moves on. All right, our next round.
Puerto Rico, Takanoko.
Puerto Rico versus Takanoko. And I will be arguing this one.
Oh, lovely. I hope you get Takanoko.
I hope I don't. That's fine.
You get Takanoko.
You picked it fine. Anyway, so Takanoko, in the game, you are laying down different kinds of tiles which will grow different colors of bamboo. Throughout that, you have the gardener that is doing that. You also have a panda that is walking around eating. So you're going to score points in 3 different ways. Either what kind of bamboo the panda eats, what kind of bamboo the farmers grow, and into what heights, and what patterns you've laid out the tiles. Everyone's working off of the same board, moving around the pieces. It's an interesting little game. It is going to have a big knock, as always.
As always, yep.
Viewers of the podcast know this, and our audience gets to know this. We are both colorblind. Takanoko hurts.
Yeah.
The colors on that are terrible. It is not well defined. They did a terrible job on that. That's the biggest knock to it. Other than that, it's a great family weight little game.
Yeah, it's a nice little game. My issue with the colorblindness is because they have 2 shades of bamboo that are so close together. When I thought, okay, now I can finally grow my bamboo, they're 2 different colors.
Yeah.
And so they're like, no, you can't because
and there was multiple times where, and not only that, the components don't match the colors that are on the tiles
No.
too. They're a slight off shade, which doesn't work for us.
The bamboo doesn't work because it's a different shade than the tile color, and the card color is different from both of those colors.
Right.
It's rough. It is so rough. Whereas Puerto Rico, even though it's historical, the browns and
nothing
the green.
but browns and grays and greens. That's all.
So that was really, really rough. And also, I mean, they're reprinting it, but there was a big knock about it too, about the historical content about it. I'm like, I understand it, and I can also understand why colonialism, why some people are upset about it, but it is what it is. You can't erase history, but you also need to be sensitive to what's going on. And this one, you're basically just overall trying to make colonialism fun game kind of thing, but the game itself, the core basis of Puerto Rico, is such a sound game.
It is one of the most strategic games on the list. In fact, so much that there's almost no random in it other than which plantation tiles come out.
Exactly, and there is a lot of farming on this because you're building tobacco farms, you're building I think cocoa farms or coffee farms. I think is what, yeah. So there is so much more in this than Takanoko, where you're just basically growing bamboo for pandas.
But chibis though.
Yeah.
But chibis.
No, I do.
This is one of the few times that art and production both is the biggest benefit and the biggest drawback. It's not colorblind friendly.
Yeah. So are we in agreement, Puerto Rico?
Puerto Rico moves on.
Alrighty.
All right, and our final of the quarterfinals will be Caverna versus Above and Below. For some reason, is on our list.
I don't get it.
You'll be arguing this argument first.
Alrighty, let's see what happens here.
And just so the audience knows, if there's ever a time where Daniel and I reach a disagreement and we cannot decide, it is up to audience vote. Normally, it's live audience. So the audience vote.
All right, so I am going to be arguing Above and Below.
Good luck.
Yeah, and this is the one where when we drew this list, it's like, how do you argue this one? Because, yeah, there's farming in it, but there's more fishing than anything in this one.
Right.
I know you do grow some vegetables, but or we find it, because you can get like carrots and stuff like that when you're doing the story mode part of it. So it's intriguing to me. There is some, but there's not a lot in it.
Right.
And so it's going to be hard for me to even make a sound argument for this to move on, because Caverna, it's all about farming.
To be honest, I don't remember a single part about it that has farming in it. And one of our audience members brought up a really good point. Like, what about Scythe? That has more farming in it. What about, any of the other games that was listed? That should be on the list.
The thing about Scythe, too, it's more about exploiting the land than actual farming.
But Above and Below has nothing that it has. So
yeah, no, I agree with you.
That's going to make my argument nice and easy.
Yeah.
I'm arguing for Caverna, which is based on Agricola. Agricola has agriculture in the name.
And Caverna's full name
just
is
a farming
the
game.
Cave Farmer.
Yeah,
so.
Caverna is just the cave farmer. So it's literally, it added in the dwarfs and going into the caves, getting resources. There's no reason Caverna can't go on compared to something like, in other games, but compared to something like Above and Below, where you're also going underground and not farming. So there you go.
Yeah, you're adventuring instead.
On all of those categories. So yeah, hands down, goes to Caverna. Caverna moves on.
All right, so moving on, we have Feast for Odin going to be going head to head with Caverna in the second round in Viticulture versus Puerto Rico.
And I'll be arguing the first one, either Feast for Odin or Caverna. Now we have an interesting argument.
Juve Bowl.
Both Uwe Rosenberg games, both games, I mean, all of his games are really about farming. So, let's not talk
You get Feast for Odin?
Feast for Odin. So, in Feast for Odin, like I said, you are upgrading your trading goods. So, of course, the game itself leads you to building off that engine, but it doesn't require that you do it. That's what's so cool about this game compared to the others. Feast for Odin, yes, you have the polynomial pieces that you're laying out in different patterns, trying to cover your board. That's cool. You're basically building an engine. Yes, you are Vikings, and that makes sense. You want to get food for your feast to celebrate Odin. So what you are doing in this game is you are going out, you're pillaging villages, you're making deals with places, you're shipping goods, you are farming, and you're feeding your people. Not only does it have the farming part of it, but also has the after effects of the eating, which is the whole premise of this theme. I think, personally, between the two, this one should move on.
I would have to disagree because you made the mention of it earlier. Caverna is about the farming. Not necessarily you don't have to farm in the sense of leafy greens or anything like that, but you are growing your cattle, you are growing your donkeys in the cave, there are like mushroom farms in said cave, and you do have to feed your people with the food that you produce out of your farm.
Right.
And so this one fits the category the best. That's what
it doesn't, and that's because Caverna, you have active mining, you're getting gems, you're building your dwarf family. Yeah, you could completely ignore the agriculture part of it and just go into cave mining.
You better make sure you get your food, because if you don't feed your people, you get negative points.
But you're feeding your people just to get.
But you need to do your agriculture to feed your people.
Kind of. But the feast justifies feeding the people. It's not just to make them survive. It's not just a penalty. It's the theme. That's what I guess. So let's break it down.
Okay.
We have 5 different criteria that'll help us decide. Meaningful choice. Which one?
There's more meaningful choice in Feast for Odin. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. To the point, there's too many choices.
Well, that's a detriment to it, right? If there's too many choices, then that.
But not necessarily.
Too many good choices doesn't necessarily mean good.
But the thing is, there's not a lot of good choices, because we all played 4 different versions of Feast for Odin, and my replicating my farm was actually by far the worst.
Yeah, but you were penalized for it.
Yes, I was, because I didn't get enough stuff to block all the negative spaces.
That's just because play better, That's what it boils down to. So let's put that as a wash.
Okay.
Really, we're gonna do that. Ease of play. I think that goes to Caverna.
Caverna, yeah. Feast for Odin was a bear.
Yeah.
Well, mind you, Caverna wasn't much better. Agricola is actually the easier one of these 3.
Art and production. Feast for Odin.
Feast for Odin.
Okay, I agree with that. What about game immersion?
Feast for Odin.
Okay.
You really did get into like the Viking and the raiding. Like all 3 of you, when you were raiding, you were really getting into it, making sure your dice were going the right way and trying to mitigate it as best as possible. So.
Okay. And replay value, I would say that goes to Caverna.
Caverna, because there's modulars to it.
There's more modulars. They have the full decks of cards. Now, granted, they have that in Feast for Odin as well, but that is really the core. It's a card playing.
Yeah, but you get most of the modular out of the expansion.
So that means that we have a tie.
And 4 players. Doesn't Caverna support 4 players?
I think it both does support.
No, it does. Yeah,
because that caps it. Feast for Odin caps at 4, and the timing on that, every player jumps it up nearly an hour.
Oh yeah. So
if they're new players, of course. Yeah.
So is your votes Caverna to move on?
For the 4 players, I think that's a bonus on
Caverna.
On Caverna.
Now, have you played both of them?
No, Caverna, but not Feast for Odin.
Not Feast for Odin. Honestly, it's like Caverna, but like twice as much.
Twice as much, yeah.
It's good. It's fun if you like Caverna. If you're into that thing.
All right, so Caverna's moving on.
Fan vote. Caverna moves on.
All right.
Viticulture and Puerto Rico is our next quarterfinal or semifinal. I will be arguing first. And thank you for your input.
All right, you get Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. Okay.
I'm just gonna leave my hat.
So there was a time on Board Game Geek where Puerto Rico was the #1 game, and there is a reason for that. And I would argue very soundly. It is one of the most meaningful, strategic, very good, solid game. there's only been one real update to it where the designer went on and said if he was willing to change one thing, he would swap the prices of two buildings. Two of the buildings, that's it. He was like, one is slightly more powerful and we put it a little more less expensive. That's it.
Other than the fact that they're changing the fact that it was colonialism now.
Right, other than the theme, I mean, of course, yeah, you want to change the theme. And we agree that we know that they are changing the theme, that's fine. That the theme is questionable and they're going to change
Honestly,
it.
they're not changing the theme, they're just changing the time period.
Right, exactly, to make it more justified.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, I'll give viticulture art and production because if you've seen the buildings in Puerto Rico, and have you seen the buildings in Puerto Rico? They're gray tiles.
Oh god.
They're just gray tiles that say the name of the building and what they do. They're just status effects that are on a tile. That's it.
Yeah.
So it's not exciting at all.
No.
It's the most boring looking out of all of these games, probably, thanks to Alea.
Yeah, well, that's just Alea's thing. I mean, what is it? What is the stuff on Felt Game that they had to reprint 3 different times?
Carpe Diem.
Carpe Diem, yes.
Carpe Diem. So yeah, it's absolutely insane. There's no justification for it. So yeah, I mean, but as far
I'll
as
give you the
game
fact
goes-
that Puerto Rico has much more meaningful choice than viticulture, because viticulture, it's just a bunch of good choices that you can do, and you still have a chance to compete no matter what you're doing.
That's
Puerto
fair.
Rico, you have to be smart when you're playing.
Okay, so I think we need to break this down.
Yeah, and so for me, though, when it comes to viticulture, this one is where you're seeing that process all the way through. You're creating your grapes, and then you're moving them into the winery, and then selling them, and also giving tours. So you're seeing all that
You're saying
aspect of farm.
game immersion is that, okay, I will give you that, because I do feel like, well, I mean, the fact that you're shipping brown cubes through on boats is
Okay,
pretty
come
terrible.
on. And
I'm not saying that's immersive, no. That
again,
takes you out of the game, right? So, art and production, agreed.
game
That
immersion.
goes to viticulture.
And the reason why, and the main reason why I say viticulture gets in, is because of those little dewdrop things. That is like the best component that I haven't seen anywhere else.
I don't like the wine tokens.
I love those tokens.
Those are fine. They're half spheres. They're
Yeah,
weird.
and
they're
then they just
cool,
make
but
everything that comes up. It just makes it look good on the board. That's what I'm saying.
It's fine. It's fine. Hear me out on this though.
Okay.
I think, and I do firmly believe this. I think Puerto Rico is not only more meaningful choice, but also easier to play. Also easier to play.
No, it's not easier to play.
It is.
No, it is not easier to play. Because
I think so.
especially if you're just doing base viticulture,
Yes.
there's only two places there's 2 areas that you're going to do worker placement, and you just have to carry over your
That's what I'm
workers.
saying. Is that this Puerto Rico is
No.
literally just taking action,
No.
which is either buy a building, build a plantation.
I
No,
remember-
hear me out. So, but in viticulture, you have 2-stage worker placements, multiple worker placement spots that give you bonuses. You have the grande meeple, right? That can replace different ones. You have the 2 different phases. That you
Well, the
have.
grande meeple doesn't replace anybody; it just moves you into the
Well,
area.
it moves you into the area. It allows you to ignore that rule, right?
Yeah.
And then, but
You can either use it as a
considering,
regular
like,
worker.
It's card management. You have to do that. You have to build up the wine. That's a lot more going on.
No,
than just
not when
planting
it comes to
tokens.
Puerto Rico. I remember that's because I was able to teach viticulture to new players a lot easier than it was for Puerto Rico to be taught to all of us that we were playing it. Even the 3rd round when we were playing Puerto Rico, a lot of us are still going, "What are we doing?"
I still don't think it's as cut and dried as that. I really don't. I think Puerto Rico. Which of those do you agree with? Do you agree with meaningful choice?
I agree, meaningful choice in Puerto Rico because
And you're
of bad
disagreeing with ease of play.
ease of play. Yes.
Okay. What are our 3 criteria for ease of play? Go to analysis paralysis.
Analysis paralysis.
Familiarity.
And analysis paralysis is a knock on Puerto Rico.
I agree.
And familiarity of the mechanism or the theme, which that's
Worker placement, is that what you're going
Yeah.
with versus action selection?
a lot more people know worker placement.
Okay. All right. I'll give it that. Ease of play. Replay value though.
How many expansions for Puerto Rico?
Couple.
I know
Not
for
many.
sure there's
Not many. I know there's at least 2 and they were packaged together for.
4 for
Yeah, and they also have all the modules.
you have
and
the
stuff.
visitors,
Yeah.
you have Tuscany, you have there's 2 visitor packs, Tuscany, and then of course they just did the co-op expansion.
Okay.
So that's 4.
Then I'm willing to concede that. Then that would give it to viticulture.
Viticulture.
Viticulture moves on versus Caverna. All right, going into our final. We have 2 games, and viewers of the podcast know this, that we will not pick a side now. We're just going to argue out each of the criteria, break it down, see what we need to decide which of these 2 games, Caverna or Viticulture, is the best farming board game.
So one thing is jumping out at me easily, hands down, and Viticulture wins this one. Art and production.
Now, hold on.
Okay.
I know you don't like Clemens Franz art.
No.
Which is Caverna.
It's not the Clemens Franz art. When your people are just this, and you actually have cutout meeples for Viticulture plus the spheres.
But they have stickers.
No.
Yeah, they add art to the tokens.
No.
I mean, like versus little meeple. I don't know. The grande meeple is just a slightly larger meeple. It's nothing.
And another thing that I will have to say about Viticulture too, and you even have to admit this, they go out of their way to make sure things are colorblind friendly. So,
Okay.
graphic design,
Yeah.
right there.
Okay. But I don't know that there's anything in Caverna that is not graphic.
Yeah, there is.
colorblind.
There's a couple things that I struggled with. Some of the farming cards, and some of the, because like they have like the light red and the light green for things, and that's always been a struggle for me.
I think
Other
we
than
can
that,
stuff up. I don't know.
no, there's like because the warring
And so our
factions.
audience knows, him and I are both colorblind. So we knock games really badly when they're not colorblind friendly.
Yeah,
Very.
both red green colorblind too.
Yes. Yeah. We're Daniels that are both colorblind. It's a thing. It's a thing amongst Daniels. Don't play board
Apparently,
games.
we
It's really
find
weird.
a lot of them out there too. We found one in.
So far this year, we've been to 2 different conventions and found another Daniel that's also colorblind. I swear, it's a thing.
It's a thing. But
If
then
you have kids, don't name them Daniel. They will probably be colorblind.
But like I said, the graphic design I think is better in Viticulture. I
Okay.
think the fact that they go out of their way for the colorblind friendliness, the art. And,
What about pieces and components?
Oh, I like the pieces and components. Again, disc versus actual meeples, and some of them are screen printed in the expansion. And then of course those little.
That's art
the
production.
art is subjective. Art is one.
Okay.
Pieces and components is the other, and then of course we're talking about graphic design.
Okay.
So, I think 2 or 3.
And our audience, do me a favor. Can I ask you guys for help real quick? Okay. Google a game called Caverna and look at the art and just judge it. And then Google a game called Viticulture, and I'll be happy to spell that for you. And then we will come back to this once you guys have decided which one you think is just objectively prettier.
Wait,
Okay.
what do we do?
Caverna, like K-E...
No,
K-
C-A-V.
Oh, yeah, I'm not even close. C-A-V.
You don't even know how to spell.
E-R-N-A, Caverna.
And you teach students.
Calling me out here. I am an elementary teacher, clearly. Alright. Caverna. Cave.
C.
Yeah, cave. C-A-V-E-R-N-A. And just look at the art. Just do what you gotta do. And we'll come back to that. The other one is Viticulture. V-I-T-I culture. C-U-L-T-U-R-E. Okay. While you guys are looking that up, we'll discuss the other factors real quick.
Okay, so
meaningful choice.
both of them have really good amounts of meaningful choice. I think just because it's Juve, it has to go to Caverna.
Caverna, okay.
Because you have to be
Because
smart about.
I don't feel in viticulture you can have that divergence in strategy. You must grow grapes. You must complete
Yeah,
sets.
there's different
that's the
things.
point.
There's
Sure.
different ways you could do it because you
Right.
can concentrate on the grapes and upgrading your farm fastest because you're going to make most of your money when you sell your wine better. However, there's different things that you got to do. But when it comes down to it, you have to be smart about, okay, I'm going to go this way and do my farm,
Right.
or I'm going to do this way and mine, or I'm going to go on raids and stuff like that. Because there is a little bit of raiding in Caverna. But you
Okay.
can't, you
Yeah.
know, you can't dabble. You can't be a jack of all trade, master of none. You have to master
You have
something
to
in
focus.
Caverna.
But you have that divergence.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think meaningful choice goes to Caverna.
Okay.
Okay, replay value. Have you guys seen Caverna? It's kind of ugly. It's not great. All right. The other one is viticulture. V-I-T-I-C-U-L-T-E-T-U-R-E.
Yeah, I was gonna say, again, You need to go back to school yourself.
Wait, how do you spell it?
Viticulture.
VITICULTURE.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Replay value.
All right, so the way we break down replay value is the expansions, to get the full experience,
and number of plays.
number of plays to get the full experience, and then one other one.
And scaling.
Yeah, scaling.
Okay, so Viticulture plays 2 to 4.
No,
2 to 5.
No, 2 to 6.
2 to 6?
All Stonemaier games are 2 to 6.
Okay, I did not realize that, but
Yeah.
all right, that's fair.
That's one of
All
their
right.
criteria is they have to play 2 to 6.
Okay. I didn't realize that, but all right. 2 to 6, okay, which is more than Caverna.
No, technically,
But which one is shorter?
Viticulture can actually play solo. They have the Automa.
But then at that point, you're just sitting there playing with yourself, and that's boring. We know this. So, 1 to 6, sure, okay. It's
And 2 to 4 for Caverna. So the scaling.
But Caverna, which one scales better? Which one plays better at the
No, they're both long.
They're both long. Yeah. But the fact that
At a full 6, it's going to be longer, but they're on
3
average,
hours.
it's like 30 minutes per player, both games.
Okay, so then
I
scaling,
think that part is a wash.
Viticulture would be the scaling because it can play more.
Yeah.
Sure, okay.
The replay value, again,
Replay
there's
value.
4 expansions for.
There is a lot for Caverna.
There, yeah, I know.
I don't
There's
know
like,
how many,
there's like
but there's a
8
lot.
for Caverna.
Did you guys see the art yet?
Which one's better?
Which one do you guys like the
The
art?
second one.
Viticulture?
Viticulture?
Haha, I told you.
Fine. I'll give it this much. Alright, Viticulture gets art stuff. Fine. Alright.
All right, so
Thank you for doing that.
replay value, Caverna. We're
Caverna,
Yeah.
yes. Now, I definitely
I'm going to
think,
skip that one. I think Viticulture is more immersive than.
Yes, I agree. Viticulture is more immersive. So now we have ease of play. Which one is easier to play? And this will decide ultimately which is the best farming game, which again, let's explain why we picked farming games. Yuma is the
Farming capital,
It's
basically
pretty much
leafy
the farming
green.
capital.
They
Leafy
produce
green
about
capital.
90% of the world's leafy
Yeah.
greens, especially during the winter.
So not only do you listen to our podcast to hear us argue about completely arbitrary stuff, you learn as well. Not spelling, clearly.
Yeah, no.
Not for me. All right, so ease of play. Which one's easier? They're both worker placement.
Yeah.
The worker placement is simpler.
Honestly, I think the worker placement is simpler in Caverna,
Yeah.
just because it opens up as the game goes on. You get more spaces as
Which
time
one's
goes
more
on.
familiar?
Probably Caverna. It was there first.
2007 was
yeah.
Agricola, so okay. All right. Which one has?
Honestly, I'll tell you which one
Which
has
one's
a better
more-
chance to get to the table more because of the feed, and it's viticulture.
I don't know. Is winemaking that exciting? People in the audience versus delving through a cave and farming? What do you guys vote? What do you guys think? Winemaking. Would you vote for winemaking or like cave diving and farming?
Game diving.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
I got one
I
there.
drown.
Huh?
I drown. I just know how to play that. That's all.
There you go.
All right. So, all right, let's see. Real quick, raise of hands for winemaking. Okay. And raise of hands for cave delving.
All right.
All right. So that more
That
likely at the
third
table.
thing, yep.
Okay. And then finally, which one is more prone to analysis paralysis?
Caverna. No, and we know that to be true because of who we played with.
In joke. All right. All right. All right. So that means it goes to viticulture. is
Yep.
What you're saying?
Yep.
So viticulture wins 2 to 3. So officially, the best farming game that him and I have both played, caveat, and that's highest ranked on there is Viticulture by Stonemaier Games. So let's give that an applause. They won. Good job. Barely because of art.
Yeah, art.
No, I'm not gonna lie. Caverna is pretty ugly.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's one
You
of
guys-
the ugliest
I saw the
games.
cringe. You're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Ooh. Jeez, put it
Oh, you
back.
think that one's ugly? You should look at Puerto Rico.
Oh yeah, that one's pretty bad. Yeah, check out Puerto Rico when you get a chance. Ooh. The
Right.
buildings are just gray squares with numbers on it.
So what we're going to do is we're going to
Super
close
cool.
out the podcast, and then we can just answer some questions for the next 10 minutes.
Sure, it sounds good. So, if you ever want to watch us on a live episode of Everyday Board Games, which we do live streams on twitch.tv/everydayboardgames, go check it out. I apologize if there's a typo in our title here. It's Everyday Board Games. It's actually Everyday Board Games.
And where? What's the link to go watch TV?
Twitch.tv/everydayboardgames.
All right, and you can also find all video re-uploads of the podcast at YouTube. Just search for Everyday Board Games, and if you like what we do, you can help us grow on that platform by liking, commenting, and subscribing to us. As well as all audio podcasts itself are up on most podcast platforms, such as Spotify, Google, Amazon Music. We're still working to get on iTunes. Apparently they don't like our logo, which is just a die. That's about it.
So if you ever want to contact us directly, we have an email address, everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com, and feel free to email us to enter into contests, which we do have.
Got to do right now.
We have a contest going on right now. Our code word is farming, so if you email us there, you have a chance to win a free game that we will ship directly to you. So, hint, you guys are privy to that information. Also, if you have ideas for future episodes or just want to reach out and say hi, everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com.
As well as you can get and contact us at our official Twitter account @EBG Podcasting.
So we want to thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I've been Daniel.
And I've been Daniel.
And we want to thank you for listening to Everyday Board Games.
And remember, every day is a good day for board gaming.
All right.